Okay. So in between, if anyone has any queries, they can stop me and ask. Okay. 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 This is about pack bounce for multi-arm bandit. So multi-arm bandit is a very famous problem in this in the learning theory side. So we are going to look at some of the PSE bounds. PSE is probabilistically approximate correct bounds. Okay. Okay. So generally in multi-arm bandit, we have some set of arms actually. So arms in this case can be considered as some coin. We'll be looking at the coin case. So it will be easy to even relate to the coin. So we have a coin, and the coin either give heads or tails. So if we try to make the output as a random variable, so if for heads we can make it 1 and for tails we can make it 0. Okay. So for tails we can make it 0. So every coin, like arms and coins, I'll be using it interchangeably. So every coin will have some expected mean actually, like it will have a mean actually. And we obviously don't know anything about the mean. And so the main multi-arm bandit problem deals with maximizing the sum of rewards. So basically you have to choose coins such that you maximize the sum of expected mean, actually expected reward you're going to get. So the reward is basically 0 or 1, and you have an expectation, so you want to maximize the sum of such rewards actually in expectation. So that is the original multi-arm bandit problem. So people look at it from different angles, and today we'll be looking at from one angle, which is this. So generally they try to find the best possible coin. Okay, the coin which has the highest expectation. Okay, so the highest expectation to output head, you can relate it in this way. So it's uh, it may not, like within less time, like they have there is a running time of algorithm also. So within less time I want to find the exact coin, so that may not be exactly possible. So the goal is to find a near optimal arm with high probability. So we'll define all this. So we want to find a arm which is very close to the best possible arm. So by best possible arm I mean the arm which has highest expectation. So very near arm we can find with probability at least 1 by delta. So I'll take you through the like proper notation. So in this model we have some set of arms A, where mod A is n. Okay. And when we sample an arm a reward which is a random variable RA is received. Okay. So for the sake of simplicity, we can assume it to be the reward can be either 0 or 1, but the results will apply even if it is between 0 and 1. Like it can be decimals and all, but it has to be a bounded thing. Okay. And so we have arms A1 up to AN, and PI is basically expectation of this reward which we'll be getting. Okay. So the R of A is reward, and PI is basically reward of expected reward of arm AI. And for simplicity, we can assume that P1 is greater than P2 up to Pn. Okay. So so these are some notations. So the arm with highest expected reward is called the best arm, and we denote it by A star, and its reward expected reward we denote it by R star. Okay. And an arm whose expected reward is strictly less than R star is called a non-best arm. Okay. And we say that a arm A is epsilon optimal arm if the expected reward is at most epsilon less, like it is like within epsilon of that optimal arm, which is this, like expected reward of A is greater than or equal to R star minus epsilon. So our aim is to find an arm of this type such that it satisfies this inequality. Okay, so this is reasonable. Like to find, we need not find the best coin, but we are finding the nearby, like nearmost coin. Okay, okay. So the algorithm algorithm setting is that at each time step t we can sample one arm and observe its reward, and based on that our algorithm, we can adapt in our algorithm and continue. Okay, and this is one definition, epsilon delta pack algorithm. So it means that we output an epsilon optimal arm with probability at least 1 minus delta. So that is the basic definition. So basically the chances of making error is at most delta. So it means this. And the number of time step the algorithm performs until it terminates is called the arm sample complexity. So you can just think it as how many times we are sampling some, like in total number, how many times we are sampling the arms actually. So that is a sample complexity. So the main thing revolves around the sample complexity, where we want to sort of reduce the sample complexity. Okay, so these are some,
Just,
yeah.
sorry, just one question. So R star is not known.
Yeah, R star is not known.
Oh,
Yeah. Nothing is known about the arms. In just we have to sample it, and based on the output which we are getting, based on that we have to decide what we want to do. So this is one standard inequality, and this is what, like this is the main inequality which we'll be using. So if we have m independent random variables x1 to xm, such that they sort of the values they output is between 0 and 1. Okay, so then let x be the sum of these random variables. So we'll have this inequality. So probability that mod x minus e of x is greater than t is less than this expression. So this is a very standard bound which is called Chernoff-Hovding bound. So we'll use a corollary of this bound actually. Okay, so the corollary is very easy to derive, so I'm just stating the corollary. So let coin 1 and coin 2 be two different coins such that they have biases p1 and p2. Okay, and assume that p1 minus p2 is greater than equal to some theta. Suppose we sample each coin for k by theta square times, and we obtain empirical biases. So the empirical biases are nothing but you observe how many times you have got 1 as the output and then divide by the total number of samplings which you have done. So that is the empirical bias. So that is P1 and P2 cap. So P1 and P2 cap. So the probability that P1 cap is less than equal to P2 cap is less than this value actually. So basically what it means that if you do these many times of sampling, the chance that this P2 which has lower bias than P1 will empirically have more value than P1 is this. And if you properly adjust K, then this value can be very small actually, this expression. So that's the entire idea, like this is the entire this is the inequation around which the entire idea of the algorithms revolve actually, at least in this particular setting.
So here
Yeah.
theta is not, you're assuming that theta is non-negative, no? Or
Yeah, theta is non-negative. It's positive integer actually. Positive value. Sorry, positive value. So P1 is greater than P2. Yeah. So first we'll look at a very naive algorithm. So that in order to give you the flavor of what's going on, then we'll proceed to the best possible algorithm in this setting. So what we can do, we can take each arm in A and we can sample it for this many times. So this is 4 by epsilon square log 2n by delta. So we can sample it this many times, and we can see we can observe the empirical values of each arm, and then we just output the arm which has the maximum empirical value. Okay, so this is one simple algorithm in this setting. So we can go through the analysis. So so obviously the sample complexity is n times this thing, because each arm we are sampling this many times. So in total it will be this many times into n. So that's why we have this sample complexity. So we show that there is an epsilon delta pack algorithm. Okay. So so let A dash be an arm for which its expected reward is like less than r star minus epsilon. So we had our definition here that an arm is epsilon optimal if it follows this inequation. Okay. So this is we want to avoid such stuff. Okay. So A dash be an arm which is not epsilon optimal. So that is r star minus. So it should have a reward which is less than r star minus epsilon. Okay. So basically, if PA cap is greater than PA star, then what, like, okay. So in the okay, let me present in this way. So when will this algorithm fail to give a epsilon best coin? Okay. So this algorithm will fail to give an epsilon best coin if there exists an arm A dash such that it has a value more than this thing actually, A star. A star is our best possible arm, and its empirical value is less than empirical value of A dash, because we are going to output an arm which has maximum empirical value. So naturally this should hold. Okay. And this particular probability holds with a probability of at most delta by n actually. Okay. So this holds with probability delta by n. So if we do union bound over all arms n, over all arms, then the probability that we don't choose an epsilon best arm is at most delta. So it might be possible that we have one best coin and remaining coins are very, like, it is far apart actually. So that's why we don't want any coin to have empirical value more than this thing actually. So that's why we do the union bound, and that's why we get delta actually. So so we are going to make a mistake with probability at most delta. So that's why we have an epsilon delta pack algorithm. So this is a very simple algorithm actually, like very simple analysis. So but the major problem with this is that it's sample complexity. So it is n log n actually. So can we do anything better than this? So it turns out that we can do better. So we can go
Can
to,
you
yeah.
can you repeat the algorithm once more? Just explain us the algorithm.
Yeah, algorithm is you sample every arm L times actually.
Oh,
Okay, then you calculate its empirical mean actually, which you're getting. Like whatever values are observing, using that you calculate your mean, and then you output the arm which has highest empirical mean.
oh,
Yeah. So
okay, I understand.
yeah, so this is the algorithm, and so this is the analysis. Like if an arm which is bad, like no, that thing will get chosen with probability delta by n, like in this way. So we don't want it to happen for any of the other arms. So by union bound we'll get delta. So I hope this part is clear. Otherwise you can stop me.
So delta is much smaller than n, huh?
Yeah, delta is one very small constant. Like it's a constant basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Delta is less than 1. It's the error
Yeah,
probability.
it's error one, right? Yeah. So it
While
can.
n is a growing quantity.
Yeah. N is a growing quantity. Yeah. So delta is some, you can assume it to be 0.1. Like it depends what delta you feed me, but it is between 0 and 1. And even epsilon is between 0 and 1.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. It turns out that we have a better algorithm compared to the previous one, but it's little bit involved, so I'll explain it in detail properly. Okay, so we have a set A as usual. So let us mention it as S actually, and we'll be defining some constants in this fashion. So epsilon 1 is equal to epsilon by 4, delta 1 is equal to delta by 2, and L is equal to 1. So you can just for now you can like need not concentrate on these constants. These constants will be useful when we do the analysis in there.
Sorry, and
Yeah.
are you explaining another algorithm?
Yeah,
now?
yeah, I'm
So
explaining another algorithm which is better
Okay.
than the previous algorithm.
Okay.
Yeah. So this algorithm name is median elimination. Okay. So we have a set S which is equal to the set of arms, and we have these constants here. So basically this is a level based algorithm. Okay, so first I'll give the overview and then I'll explain what is going on in the algorithm exactly. So we suppose we are at one level L, and we have some set of items called SL. Okay, so a set of arms SL. Initially S1 is equal to A. Okay, what happens is out of the set A, out of the set SL, we discard half of them. Okay, and remaining half of them we take it to the next level, and again if by some way we discard half of them, and again we go to the next level, and we keep on doing this until we are left with only one element. Okay, so this is sort of the idea which we'll be using. Okay, uh, so uh, so okay, so okay, see this should be actually SL actually. So initially S1 is equal to A, and this is SL. Okay, so we sample arms as usual. We sample arms for some these many times. Okay, so these many times, these constants you can, I'll bring again later while analysis, and we note down the empirical value we got at that level. Okay, and what we do, we find the median of those empirical values which we got after sampling the arms. Okay, and what we do, whichever arms have empirical value less than this median, we discard them. Okay, as we are doing it here. So arms which are have empirical means less than median are being discarded, and rest of and we are storing it one new set called SL plus 1, and we are sending it to the next level. Okay, if SL is equal to 1, we output SL. Otherwise we make the changes in the constants like this, like epsilon L plus 1 we decrease it by a factor 3 by 4, delta L plus 1 we decrease it by a factor 2, and L we increase it by a factor 1, and we go to the next level, which again begins from here, and we continue this until we are left with one arm. So with the algorithm, does anyone has any query? If anyone has, I can quickly explain it again.
So once more would be good.
Okay, so basically what we are doing. Okay, so initially we have a set of arms, and we are sampling it for this many times. Okay, so we are sampling it for some number of times, and so naturally we'll get empirical means of every arm. Okay, out of that we discard those arms which are less than the median. So the empirical means will have a median value, and will discard those arms which have empirical means less than the median. So basically, if you arrange the empirical means in descending order. So we'll discard the second half of the set actually. So we'll discard the second half of the set, and then we'll be left with a set, and on that we'll again do this process again by changing the constants appropriately, and we'll discard again half of this set, and we keep on discarding half until we are left with only one element. So we proceed in this manner actually. So each time the size becomes half actually, size of the set which we are left with.
So you are then left with only one arm.
Yeah. When we are left with one arm, that is the arm which will be choosing actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you will see that arm follows the formula.
Yeah. That arm follows our requirements.
epsilon.
Yeah.
Yeah, epsilon optimal.
Yeah, epsilon optimal. Yeah.
So there is no n inside log here.
Yeah, there is no n inside log. So we'll be finding
So-
order n roughly.
Yeah,
That will
so
show
you
how
avoid-
we'll get exactly. Even that is not
So
that.
you-
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So you'll avoid the union bound somehow. Actually.
No, not avoiding union bound, but it's nice. Like it's these things are avoiding the stuff going to order n log n actually.
No, that I understand.
Yeah.
So in the last algorithm,
Yeah.
you needed an n inside the log
yeah,
because
because-
you had union bounding over n objects. So
Yeah. So
that is the source of this n inside the log, right?
yeah, even there also will do union bond, but the union bond, as you will see, it's in a very clever way, so that we maintain order n sample complexity, plus we get this upper bound of delta actually. Yeah, so that in analysis you can clearly check very clearly actually. And before going to that analysis, just okay. So suppose we are just allowed to just sample each coin some. Okay, I think I'll come to this part at the end. Better I'll go to the analysis and then it will be clear actually. Okay, I'll start with the analysis. Okay. So at a particular level, we know we have a set SL actually of arms on which we'll be running the algorithm. Okay. So the first lemma says that the maximum expected reward in level L. So you can consider these as levels actually, level 1, level 2, level 3. So that's why we have SL1, S1, S2 up to SL. So the maximum expected reward in SL is less than equal to maximum expected reward in SL plus 1 plus epsilon L, and that this thing happens with probability 1 minus delta L actually. So the statement of the lemma is clear, right? Yeah, if it's clear then I'll go. Like basically it means that in the previous level, whatever coins we had, whatever arms we had, among them, whatever arms we are sending to the next level, the best arms difference is at most epsilon L. So it means something like that, and that happens with probability 1 minus delta L. Okay. So
Since the
So you are telling.
yeah.
sorry, NG after you.
No. So you are telling that the maximum in the next level is always better than the maximum in the previous level.
No,
That's what you are-
I'm not saying that. I'm telling that maximum in the next level plus epsilon L is better than this thing actually.
Oh,
Yeah, it's plus epsilon L is there actually.
perfect, sir.
Yeah. So basically maximum of next level is not two below the maximum of previous level. They are very nearby actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So this delta L's
yeah, delta L.
are reduced geometrically.
Yeah.
right? So
They're
probably
reduced geometrically.
So you can probably add them.
Yeah.
on the-
I think you
to
got
a
what we are going to do. Yeah.
No, not entirely.
Yeah, but you almost told the correct thing actually. So okay. So we'll look at the round one, means we can keep L is equal to 1, and we can do the analysis, and similar analysis will follow for every round actually by replacing 1 with L and so on. Okay. So we look at the first round, and we assume P1 is the best is the reward of the best arm. Okay. So let us define this event actually. Event that P1 cap is less than P1 minus epsilon 1 by 2 actually. So uh, due to the Chernoff halving bound, it's very easy to show that this event happens with probability at most delta 1 by 3. Okay. So even that your empirical mean is way lower than your actual mean. So that thing is bounded by this delta 1 by 3. Okay. So so this thing is bounded by delta 1 by 3. So we are not bothered what happens with this event actually, because it's happening with probability delta 1 by 3. So let us look at the case where this event doesn't happen. Okay. So what happens is we calculate the probability that an arm whose expected reward is pj is not epsilon 1 optimal, is empirically better than best arm. So basically we want to calculate the probability that an arm which is like far apart from our best arm is empirically better than our best arm. So that thing we are going to calculate. So that same thing we did in the previous algorithm also. So probability that empirical mean of j is greater than empirical mean of 1 given this so basically it's E1 complement. Okay. So it's E1 complement. So this is less than equal to probability that Pj cap is greater than equal to Pj plus epsilon 1 by 2. So why this is necessary? Because uh, in order for this to happen, this should happen actually. Otherwise, if pj cap is less than this value, then no way it will have empirical mean more than p1 cap actually. It's very simple arithmetic stuff actually. So if this thing doesn't happen, then this thing will never happen actually. So that's what it means actually. So it's you can draw a like on a straight line you can draw, or I can just show. Just 1 minute actually. I'll just show it in one paint. I'll draw and show.
Take Jamboard.
Jamboard on.
Yeah. Jamboard.google.com. Jamboard. Yeah, create
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Okay. So okay. So line thickness. The thickness is too low. 1 second. Okay. Just a second. Okay, red will be fine, I guess. Actually, it's coming little bit light here. I have one more thing actually. There it was working properly.
Okay. Yeah, you do one.
Yeah. So okay. So suppose so you have your P1 here actually, and we have our PJ here somewhere. Okay. And we say that the gap here is more than epsilon 1. So that's what we assumed there. So Pj has gap more than P1. And what we want is that this Pj cap means empirical value should be greater than or equal to P1 cap actually. Okay. So we want this thing to happen. So we already assume that if this is so if this is epsilon 1 by 2 here, So this, if this is epsilon 1 by 2, so the event which we assume that p1 is to the left of this particular point. So that's what we assumed in our event actually here. So that was the event here. So p1, so event which does not hold means p1 is basically greater than or equal to p1 minus epsilon 1 by 2. So that's what we are assuming. So in this setting, so the empirical mean of P1 will lie in this region. Okay. So for Pj's empirical mean to be greater than P1, so its empirical mean should cross this point basically. And if it crosses this point only if Pj cap is greater than or equal to Pj plus epsilon 1 by 2. Okay, so it should cross this point. For it to cross this point, this thing should happen. So I hope you got the idea why this inequality comes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and again from Chernoff-Hovding bound, we can show that this thing happens with probability delta 1 by 3. Okay. Okay. So, so let B be the number of arms which are epsilon 1 optimal but are empirically better than best arm. Okay. So, for one arm, the probability of this thing happening is delta 1 by 3. So expectation of B will be n times delta 1 by 3. So because expectation so expectations are addable, so that's why it's n delta 1 by 3. And so when does an empirically best arm is not selected for the it's not sent to the next level. Okay.
So Arnav,
Yeah.
so this calculation is for level 1, right?
Yeah, level 1, and similarly, see, since I used epsilon 1, so you can replace it by epsilon L, and rest of the stuff you can replicate it for level L also. Yeah. So basically, if we have B greater than n by 2, okay, so if we have B greater than n by 2, then by Markov inequality we can bound this thing actually, the 2 delta 1 by 3. So why I am taking n by 2? Because yeah, I am taking it more than n by 2 to make sure that the best arm here is not being sent there actually. So all very bad arms are being sent to the next level, which have gap more than epsilon 1 actually. Okay, so that's why I'm doing in this fashion. So arms which have okay, so what I want to mean is, for this inequality to fail, it should happen that all the arms which are not epsilon optimal, they are the only ones who are sent to the next level. Okay, yeah, and that happens if B is greater than n by 2. Okay, and that happens with a very low probability, so it's 2 delta 1 by 3. So if you add this 2 delta 1 by 3 with this delta 1 by 3, so it becomes delta 1 actually. So, and if you just like notations, if you replace 1 by L and so on, you will get this inequality actually. So what this inequality means is, at level L, if I had say a coin, if I had a coin with best coin had the value P, then in next level the best coin will have a value at least P minus epsilon L. So that's what it's trying to tell actually, and this thing happens with 1 minus delta probability. So I hope this part is clear. Otherwise, if any place, if it is confusing, I can again repeat it. Okay. And okay, so that was regarding this lemma. Now we can have a look at the sample complexity. So sample complexity is actually very easy to analyze. So, sorry, here sample complexity. So I told I'll tell about the constants properly. So basically at each level we are doing this many sample complexities actually. So where delta L is delta by 2 to the power L, NL is n by 2 to the power L minus 1. So NL is basically the number of elements in the set SL actually. The SL here. Okay. And epsilon L is 3 to the power 4 L minus 1 epsilon by 4. So in each round we'll be making this many sample complexities, and if you add it properly and separate the terms, so these are all geometric series and geometric AP, GP AP and one GP. So these are all bounded. So these are some constants at the end of the day. So we'll have order n ln 1 by delta epsilon square actually. So sample complexity, you can take it for granted that it's order n log 1 by delta by epsilon square actually. So I'll share the slides again so that you can go through why this is actually constant. But like this term here, you can separate it out in this fashion, and then each of these terms, if you is bounded by a constant actually. It's like the one of them is GP and others are APGP, combinations of arithmetic and geometric progressions, which will converge to a constant. So it will not be some order log n or something. So we are fine with that actually. That's why this is the reason why we did this actually. This is the reason why we were going level wise and we were decreasing the number of elements in each level, plus we were decreasing the constants in order to bound the sample complexity. So finally we'll look at the theorem which says that this is an epsilon delta pack algorithm. So already we sort of showed that it's a sample complexity is this. So by lemma 1, the algorithm fails with probability delta I in each round actually. So what delta L actually there. So what I mean is, so what we want is we want this thing to hold for every round actually. Okay, so every level this particular inequality should hold. So because if it holds, it means that the arm which we'll be choosing is very close to the actual best arm. So if at one particular level this inequality fails, it means that we'll be sending arms which are way below the best arm, and that is quite bad for us. So at each level L, we want this inequality to hold. So again we can do union bound of chances of our algorithm to fail, and since the deltas, they among themselves they form a geometric progression, it will converge to a constant again. So this is actually delta L. So since we began with delta 2 actually, somewhere here, yeah. So delta 1 is delta by 2. So all these things will tend to delta. So it is upper bounded by delta. And yeah, is anyone telling something? No, I guess. Okay. Yeah. So and what I told, the arm, the best arm gap, say the best arm in level 1 is P1. The best arm in level 2 is at least P1 minus epsilon 1. Okay. And the best arm in level 3 is P1 minus epsilon 1 minus epsilon 2. So it continues in this fashion. So the arm which we'll be choosing has a gap of at most this thing actually, the sum of epsilon 1. And again this is bounded by epsilon. Okay. So it means that the arm which will be finally giving as an output will have a gap, like the difference between it and the best arm is at most epsilon. So that's why this entire algorithm is epsilon delta pack algorithm. So if anyone has any queries, they can ask me actually.
So how is that totally? This is bounded by epsilon, means that you are imposing.
Yeah, this if this since okay, so since this inequality is holding for each and every level, so it means that the gap between any two level is epsilon L. Okay, so we are basically adding the epsilons, and so the maximum gap between the coin which we are choosing and the best arm is this summation, which is upper bounded by epsilon, because of the way we chose epsilon i's actually, S and L's. So that this is the reason why it is getting bounded by epsilon, and similarly the
That's
delta.
you are actually putting epsilon like that.
Yeah. So we chose our epsilon in this fashion actually, you can see. So epsilon L plus 1 is 3 by 4 epsilon L. So it is forming a geometric series. So when we add them, it will tend to epsilon.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So this is the trick actually. So instead of just blindly doing this thing, we can do it level wise, and we can improve the sample complexity also. I hope the rest of the things are clear, and I'll share the slides one more so that even if you're,
Arnav,
yeah,
no, yeah, is 3 by 4 something special, or how far it can be changed?
uh, like, like
For example, can it be half?
uh, I think so. It can be half, but I need to check once because this 8 by 9 and this thing also has to be bounded. So I need to check that part also. 3 by 4 and all.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. So, so okay. So there are two key results, which I like key results in the sense that this is the best possible thing which anyone can achieve actually. So there is a paper where they showed that this is the best possible lower bound. Like this is a lower bound basically, and we achieved it as upper bound. So this is the best possible algorithm which is possible. And I told I was going to tell something here. That something is, suppose I am not allowed to do this level by level stuff actually. So I am being told that you have to do it in one level itself. Like in one level itself, you have to find the best, like epsilon best term. Then in that case, this is the best algorithm possible. So n log n is the best algorithm possible. So that's what these are the two key results actually. So you couldn't have done anything more than this. Like, so that's why you have to do something other than this. So you have to go level by level actually. And this is again this is a very straightforward algorithm. Even we can reduce the number of levels to log star actually. Here it will go log n number of levels, because each time we are decreasing by 2, but actually we can reduce it to log star n levels, so that thing is little bit more involved actually. And okay, so this is sort of, you can say, offline setting actually, because we have all the arms. So I am currently working with Arindam Khan, Professor Arindam Khan. He is from IISc Bangalore. So he was alumni of IIT Kharagpur. So the problem which we are working at is the online version of this problem. So one by one the arms are coming, and we are allowed to store only one extra arm. So we are not allowed to store all the arms together. So what is the best possible sample complexity which we'll get? So that is the thing which we are targeting actually. So we already showed that by storing log star n number of arms, we can achieve the same sample complexity. So the main question is, by storing say order 1 number of arms in memory, can we achieve the same sample complexity? So that is our research project on which it is going on. So it's a theoretical machine learning research project which is going on.
So I hope Professor Arindam is okay with you talking about an ongoing work here. I hope.
That's a very open conjecture sort of thing actually. It's not our own defined project, it's conjecture actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, can you go back to the pseudocode once? I just want to.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
So actually, in higher levels, so L can go all the way. So L, there are log n levels, as you
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
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 So in let's say when L is log n,
Yeah.
delta L is like delta by n, right?
Yeah, is delta n is delta by n.
Delta L. So then log of 3 by delta L
Yeah.
will be log of n, or some log of n by delta.
Log of 3 by n. Yeah. So in one particular round we have log n, but when you are adding
Log
it
n,
overall, then it's becoming still order n only.
Yeah. So log n.
Yeah.
But then the number of arms in level L is again 1.
Yeah. So that is the trick. So it's between number of samplings versus number of arms.
So in the first algorithm, you were like
Yeah.
estimating all the means very accurately.
Yeah.
So now you are like estimate in the first level, you do a very crude kind of estimate,
Yeah.
and then eliminate some arms.
Yeah.
Then you do a slightly better estimate,
Yeah.
eliminate some more arms.
Yeah. Exactly. We are doing that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is how you can probably.
Yeah. So that is how we proceed, and that is how we get. And there's even one more. There's a very good paper actually which uses information theory, which states that. So here we are doing level-wise thing, right? So here we are going log n number of levels. So what is the best number of levels which we can go is log star n. Anything better than log star n is not possible. So we cannot do this thing in constant number of levels actually. We have to go at least log star n number of levels in order to achieve order and sample complexity. So see, all this literature is there in the thing actually.
So is there any known lower
Actually-
bound of log star n?
Yeah, there are known works
The
actually.
lower bound.
Yeah, the lower bound, and in that same paper they gave a log star n algorithm.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And we found a log star n algorithm for online setting also, which was
Oh, you have.
yeah, we found a log star n algorithm for online setting. Like we are allowed to store at most log star n number of arms. So in that case, what is the best we can do? So it's order n. So
Sorry, can you explain the online problem once more?
online problem is your arms are coming one by one. Okay, you don't have all the arms at the same time, and you are allowed to store some fixed number of arms. That fixed number can be order 1, order log n, or order log star n. So yeah, but you're not allowed to store every arm. Okay, if you're storing every arm, it becomes an offline algorithm.
And finally, what do you do? Like
We
after
want to output the epsilon best arm.
epsilon base term, and that has to be one of the arms that that's currently with you in your memory.
Yeah, within the memory, what we after the algorithm has ended, then with the coins which we stole, among them we'll choose one arm and we'll output it as our algorithm output.
Yeah, you will choose one arm amongst the arms that you have stored,
Yeah,
right?
that also will amongst the arm we stored. So with a proper rule, so we'll define a rule and we'll choose, and it will be done actually. So we have one thing, but the question is whether we can find order one. Like, can we store order one, and then can we do actually?
Oh, with Logstar. So this is your work, is it? Logstar.
Yeah,
Logstar
Logstar n is our work actually.
Okay.
Yeah. For offline we have online version. We did this. We are trying for order one. So we are hopeful, like order one, whether it can be there actually. So yeah. So if anyone has any other queries, they can tell me.
So in the analysis,
Yeah. Yeah, which part actually?
the analysis of this algorithm, like so where you show that at each step you eliminate half the elements or something.
You mean this thing actually, or
No, not this thing. The analysis
Yeah.
where you show by Markov's inequality. or something.
this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this probably shows you that even with a not a very even if your estimate is not very accurate,
Yeah.
even then you can eliminate half the elements.
Yeah. And
And that just
Yeah.
it's just Markov's inequality.
yeah. And chances that our estimate is very wrong is at most this thing actually. Yeah. So it's very clever techniques. Like the techniques are quite standard. Like these are all well-known inequalities, but in a very clever way they have done the algorithm. So that's why this algorithm is named median elimination.
Yeah. So the with high probability, at most n by 2 arms are not epsilon 1 optimal. No, sorry.
No,
What's
yeah, with high probability, yeah.
oh, there are.
No,
Sorry.
with high probability, we have that arms, number of arms which are not epsilon optimal, but which are empirically better than best arm are very low actually. That it means. It means that.
That is what it.
Yeah, B is the number of arms which are not epsilon optimal but are empirically better than the best arm. So that so we want to keep a check on this number actually. So if
And they all get eliminated because you are taking the median. And they are
yeah,
less than
yeah.
n by 2.
If they're less than or equal to n by 2, then obviously everything need not be
Yeah.
eliminated, but at least one epsilon best arm is going to end up in the next level. So that's what it means actually. So we want at least one epsilon best arm to end up in the next level. So
Oh, I see.
yeah, so if that happens, we are fine. So if that doesn't happen, it means this is holding actually. And then
Oh, I see. So B is less than n by 2, and you are promoting at least n by 2
Yeah.
arms to the next level.
Yeah.
So there is one arm.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That I missed it. Okay.
Yeah. So I hope if it's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think then we can end the meeting then.